Hello, and welcome to this introduction to the National Science Foundation. This presentation is designed to give you a very brief primer on NSF, our organization, and our budget outlook. Hopefully, the information I provide to you today will help put many of the other conference sessions that you attend in context. My name is Jamie French, and I'm the Division Director for the Division of Grants and Agreements in the Office of Budget, Finance, and Award Management, or BFA. BFA has many responsibilities, from implementing policies and procedures for the entire proposal and award life cycle, to making all the awards to your organizations, to handling all the financial policies and payments. I'm going to talk through the origins of NSF and how NSF is organized. We're going to provide some budget information, funding trends, and I'll also provide you some links to some key documents. As you attend other sessions throughout this week, I encourage you to ask your questions early and often. Inspired by advances in science and technology that occurred as a result of World War II, NSF was established by Congress in the National Foundations Act of 1950. As an agency, our mission, according to the statutory NSF Organic Act, is to promote the progress of science, to advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. And we do that by supporting investments across a whole range of science and engineering areas. Let me provide a high-level overview of NSF. NSF is an independent agency. This means that NSF is outside of the cabinet agencies. NSF supports fundamental basic research in education and all the non-medical fields of science and engineering. Most of the awards we make go out as grants. However, we also award funds as cooperative agreements, contracts, and fellowships. We have a very low overhead. About 94% of NSF's funds go out the doors to awardees, which is enabled by our automated systems, such as research.gov and our expanded virtual panel capabilities. We have a discipline-based structure, much like institutions of higher education. An important aspect of NSF is our use of rotators, in particular, what we call IPAs, or Intergovernmental Personnel Act employees. NSF has a special hiring authority to bring people in from the community on a temporary basis. This keeps NSF connected to the communities that we serve and ensures that we have new, fresh voices coming into the foundation. Our governance is the National Science Board. These members are appointed by the president, and it includes 24 members, including the NSF director. And it's a very important aspect of NSF being an independent agency. NSF is divided into 8 directorates that support science and engineering research and education. We also have an international office to coordinate international engagement and collaboration, as well as an Office of Integrated Activities that manages large cross-directorate and agency-wide programs, such as the established program to stimulate competitive research, or EPSCoR. The Office of Budget, Finance, and Award Management, my organization, and the Office of Information and Resource Management both ensure that the agency's operations are running smoothly. The NSF Director's Office also houses the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, or OECR, which works across the NSF-supported community to eliminate harassment and promote diversity, inclusion, equal opportunity, and access. As I briefly mentioned, NSF also has the National Science Board, or NSB, made up of 25 presidentially appointed members. The NSB has 2 roles. The NSB establishes the policies of NSF within the framework of applicable national policies set forth by the President and Congress. It does this by identifying issues that are critical to NSF's future, approves NSF strategic budget directions, and the annual budget submission to the Office of Management and Budget, and approves new major programs and awards. And the NSB serves as advisors to the President and Congress on policy matters related to science and engineering education. The numbers on this slide are based on fiscal year 2022 actuals. In 2022, NSF supported about 1,800 organizations and over 352,000 people. We receive about 39,000 proposals a year, and we select over 11,000 for funding. This means that we declined about 28,000 proposals in fiscal year 22. Many of them passed over due to a lack of funding rather than lack of merit. Awards are determined through a merit review process, regarded throughout the world as the unequaled standard of scientific review. It relies on expertise of accomplished scientists to ensure that all NSF projects are the highest quality and have the potential to advance the frontiers of knowledge and transform our world. We must be doing something right, because at the last count, NSF-supported researchers have received 258 Nobel Prizes. Although NSF invested in all of these laureates' basic research long before they were recognized by the Nobel Committee. This slide shows NSF's support of academic basic research, only academic institutions, and only federal funds. As you can see, NSF is a major federal funding source for academic basic research. In the case of computer science funding, almost 80% of federal support comes from NSF. Many government organizations work to ensure that the U.S. leads in research and innovation. We partner with many of them on research initiatives. NSF is a major funder of institutions of higher education in many critical fields, ensuring that virtual research areas continue to contribute to increasing the nation's leadership. The fiscal year 2024 budget request totals more than $11 billion. You can take a deeper dive into the NSF budget on our website, but I wanted to take this opportunity to speak briefly about NSF leadership when it comes to science and funding at the federal level. If the United States wants to continue to lead in the research and innovation, we need to invest in both fundamental research and translation. We need to create the technologies and jobs of the future through such investments. We also need to ensure that we have a workforce, a broad workforce, who are prepared for the jobs of today and tomorrow. Many of you may know about the CHIPS and Science Act, which NSF believes can unlock science and technology breakthroughs to drive our economy and national security for decades to come by expanding the geography of innovation through regional innovation, investing in domestic STEM talent like never before, strengthening the lab to market pipeline, and by increasing funding to the basic science and engineering research that lays the foundation for the future. Now, for a few more specifics about the NSF 2024 budget request. NSF has 6 separate appropriations accounts that you see on this slide. What you're seeing is what NSF actually obligated in FY22. The estimate is the proposed current plan that is pending on the Hill. The request is the revised congressional budget request from 2024. Fiscal year started on October 1st under a continuing resolution until November 17th. The CHIPS and Science Act of 2022, which was passed last fall, has broad sweeping changes for many NSF initiatives, policies, and programs that you will hear about, many of them, during the sessions this week. What this slide shows is the number of days it has taken each year before we receive our full appropriation. In the last 30 years, since 1993, there have only been 2 years where we began our fiscal year with a full year appropriation. In fiscal year 2023, we were under a continuing resolution for 89 days. Since 1993, the average number of days before receipt of appropriation is 92. Since 2016, the average number of days is 127. What this means is that we work through about half of the fiscal year operating at our prior year's funding level. That means we have a lot of work to do between now and the end of each fiscal year to get all those funds issued and awarded. Now that we've talked about the funding, what are your chances of getting funded? On this slide, I've provided the last 5 years of the number of proposals that we received and those that we were able to fund. You can see that it's a range between 24 and 28%. In fiscal 2022, we were at the top of that range at 28%. There are many factors that contribute to this, and what I'm showing you here is pretty simple math. You should also know that the success rate varies significantly across NSF by directorate and by program. But again, it does drive home the impact of what I stated earlier, that NSF is only able to fund about a quarter of the proposals that we receive, and that for many of them, it's not due to lacking merit, but that we have limited funding to support the good ideas coming into the agency. For the last several slides, I've been talking mostly about what happens on an annual basis. However, NSF is actually managing an award portfolio that spans multiple years. What that translates to is a portfolio that's about $36 billion in total award funding, 48,000 active awards, and over 3,000 awardees. When it comes to award oversight, many of the people who you'll be hearing from throughout the grants conference are working on the items listed in this box on the right side of the slide. It shows the activities that NSF is engaged in with our awardees throughout the award lifecycle. This oversight includes pre-award reviews all the way through audit resolution. And so if you have questions, there are people here who can help answer them for you. There are several of resources for you on this slide, many of which I've touched upon today, and many of which you will hear mentioned as you attend other sessions of the conference. Finally, we encourage you to ask early, ask often. If you don't get your question answered this week, please know that you can find all NSF staff and their contact information on the NSF website. Finally, I've provided a link to employment opportunities at NSF. We're always looking for great people to join our team. Please take a look if you'd like to join us at NSF. Thank you again for your time, and I really hope you enjoy the conference. Thanks, everyone.